Please like and subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to get new video updates.
My wife came out of the hospital room and her eyes were ringed with red. And I took her into my arms and we just both cried. She was saying goodbye to my brother and we were taking him off life support that night after about 3 weeks of him being in a coma. And we broke our embrace and she looked up at me and she said, I promised that I would name our first child either Edward or Edwina. And I looked at her and I said, oh, you better hope he lives through the night because you got to take that shit back. and I said that for two reasons. Because one, I just didn't want to say the name Edwina for the rest of my life. And I knew with my karma as a shitty teenage boy that I was definitely having a daughter first. There was no question about that. But the second reason is that names have power, right? And I think I know this more than most people. And the day I realized it, I was in a bank in Mexico, and I passed the teller traveler's check. It was 1991. And she looked at the traveler's check, and she looked at my passport, and then she disappeared. And I leaned over, and I looked around, and she was on the floor laughing. And this was not a surprise. The name I was born with was Fracasso. And in Italian, fracasso means explosion or natural disaster, which is kind of fitting for my life. But in Spanish, fracasso means complete and utter failure. And in certain countries, which was new to me, but apparently Mexico is one of them, fracasso is synonymous with the word fuck up. So I could completely understand that if someone handed me a piece of paper that said Peter fuck up, I would laugh hysterically too. But it was that moment where I realized this is my father's name, a man who left when I was 2, that I have not seen since I was 8. He never paid child support, lied about his address, so we couldn't find the fucker, to actually contribute to my life. And here I am, I'm carrying this name, with this horrible legacy. And so in that moment, I decided to take on my mother's name, which was an upgrade. Not a big one. My mom's last name was Slaughter. But after witnessing people's reaction to my name, and that by laughing so hard that they had to fall off their chair at their place of employment, no doubt, I realized it was time. It was time for me to really choose the woman's name who had raised me, who had contributed the most to my existence and my adulthood. And so when I came home from that 6-month period in Mexico, and I saw my mom and I explained, hey, I made this decision. I want to take on your name. And she said, funny you should mention that. I've been thinking about dropping the S. And I thought that was awesome. So together, I took on her name, and we together dropped the S. And I spent a lot of time thinking about, at that time, I was 20 years old, and I wanted to get my PhD in sociology and teach, and I thought that Dr. Laughter sounded a little bit too much like a pimp. And so I went with a pronunciation Lauder. And Peter Lauder sounded much better than Peter Fuck Up. And so life went on, and then I got married. And my wife, who took on my name, thought that I was completely psychotic for using the pronunciation Lauder when it was spelled Laughter. It was just that was just absolutely absurd. So she went by Laughter, and I went by Lauder, and it was totally confusing until, much to my surprise, I found myself one day introducing myself as Peter Laughter. And when you introduce yourself as Peter Laughter, people react to you in a very, very specific and positive way. What a great name. You must be so happy. And, when 50 people say that to you in a period of a month, you actually start to believe it, right? You start to take that on. And so when my wife said that she was going to name our daughter Edwina, I knew that was a mistake. Yeah. And we talked about it, and we decided that we were going to name our child Eddie, either way. And I knew I was going to have a girl, and I worried about the reaction to people. Oh, it's a boy's name. And we spelled it E-D-D-Y, like a current moving in the opposite direction, because I wanted the magic of my brother and the magic of moving against the current to be part of her life. And I remember when she was about 4 years old, we were at a birthday party, and there was a magician who asked for volunteers, and she volunteered. And the magician said those words, "Isn't that a boy's name?" And I remember myself standing up, and I was angry, and I was waiting for this moment. I knew it would come. And my daughter at 4 just looked at him like he was a stupid idiot and said, "No, that's my name." And I knew that the magic worked. Thank you.